Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel and my review of the Benimar 463 motorhome. It's good to have you here and thank you for clicking on the button. So the reason for this video is earlier in the year when we started looking at this vehicle, we found it hard, or I found it hard to find any honest reviews about the motorhome. It was our first motorhome we kind of were looking at buying, and although there was plenty of YouTube videos from the manufacturers and magazines and whatnot, I couldn't find any real honest owners reviews of the vehicle. So I thought, you know, we've had this vehicle, we got it in June, it's now December, we've had it for a good while, we've used it for a season. I thought I'd do a quick video just to give you some real life figures and information of the van. So currently we're sitting in a 2020 Ford Transit based Benimar T463. It's the one with the fixed bed at the back, and it's based on the 2-litre diesel engine. Lovely van, first of all. I'm not working or linked to Benimar or Marquis in any way, shape or form. This is my own opinions that I've made, good and negative, although there isn't many negatives, but here we go. So to drive the vehicle, to drive it, as I've said before, it's based on the 2-litre Transit, which is a very capable commercial vehicle. As you can see from behind me, the dash is very, very user friendly. We've got a Ford Focus, and I do honestly think that the design of the dash is very car-like, which reflects in driving the vehicle. The vehicle feels very light and easy to drive, and the steering's very responsive and feedback. It's a nice modern feeling vehicle to drive. I was very concerned in the early days when we put our deposit down for this, and although I'd had plenty of time inside the van taking home with the fridge and the cooker, there wasn't the opportunity to test drive the vehicle, but like I said, we've done nearly 4,500 miles in it now, mainly, well, all in the UK this year because of COVID, and it's been a lovely faultless vehicle to drive. I'll go through a bit of the spec, from the technical spec that it's got. So we've got automatic start stop, which takes a bit of getting used to. Not had a vehicle with that. Basically, when you come to a junction and you're in neutral and you press the foot brake and your vehicle comes to a standstill, the engine cuts off, and then once you press the clutch to put it into first, the engine starts again and you're away. Find that very useful. Whether it saves much fuel, I don't know, but all new cars have got this these days, so I'm assuming it does. The only problem I find with it is when you pull up at a campsite and you're manoeuvring the vehicle onto your pitch, it can be a bit annoying when the engine's going on and off, on and off, on and off. So what I generally do is when we'll pull up to a campsite and we are heading towards a pitch, there's a button on the dashboard which I'll show you. I just press that and it disactivates it, so you know when you're moving around the engine just stays on. We've also got traction control, not being in a position at the minute where we needed that as far as I'm aware, but it seems to do what it does. Again, there's a switch on the dashboard that you can turn it off as and when you want it. The other interesting feature is the modes, driver modes. You've got two modes: normal, which is what the engine defaults to when you first turn it on. You've also got eco mode. Now, being completely honest with you, we came from a Mercedes Sprinter camper van, and when I first started driving this, I found it a little bit underpowered. The Sprinter, obviously, the Sprinter was a lot lighter, it was more aerodynamic, but the engine, I found you could 6 gear on the motorway, overtaking whatever, left it in 6 and it would just go. However, with this being the 170 brake version, I'd expected it to perform similarly, which it doesn't. Didn't initially when I first started driving it, it didn't feel fast. Not that it's a fast vehicle, but it just didn't seem to have that performance. What I have discovered is it's perfectly capable. It's not underpowered. It's just I've learned to drive the Ford in a different way, and as you do the miles, you discover how to basically it needs driving, where the Sprinter was just very in one gear, leave it. This vehicle, you do have to work the gears a bit to get the speed up as and when you need it for overtaking and such like. What I do find is I've tried driving in the eco mode, and whether that's for the van when it's a van and it's got a light weight, maybe that's what that's for, but I do find in eco mode it becomes very hard to drive. You're constantly changing gear, you put your foot down, there's nothing there. I think it also limits you to 70. Once you get to 70 you can't go any faster. I just find that the amount of energy you have to put in to make the van go in eco mode, I suspect that you're making it work harder. And the fuel saving between eco and normal, on a motorhome with all the extra weight and drag, I suspect that there's very little difference. You lose a lot of the performance for probably not much benefit in fuel consumption. So moving on to fuel consumption in the real world, when we first bought this I was expecting about 25 miles a gallon. In reality, when we first got it, it had 12 miles on the clock and we were getting about 28, 29, and that was, you know, taking it easy and sensibly running the engine in. Now 4,500 miles in, we're getting anything between 29 and 32. I think you could probably get higher, you know, if you drove it slower, I don't know, but you know, when we're traveling on a motorway, I'll do the speed limit. I don't take my time. I drive the van engine, I drive it as it should be driven. It is based on a commercial van engine. It can and should be able to take the acceleration to get up to the speed quickly. So like I say, the mile per gallon figures that I state between 28, 29, 30s, 31, 32 in the summer when it's warmer are what I would say is real time mile per gallon, real life mile per gallon, and that is in normal mode. Generally the places we go to, we like lakes and mountains, so you know, we'll spend a few hours on the motorway and then we'll be on the smaller roads going up and down. So the miles that we do are pretty much the miles that I would expect your average motorhome to do. So yeah, I think 30s for a vehicle the size of this, the weight, we've fully kitted out most of the time. We're carrying the best part of well over half a tank of fuel. We do a lot of wild camping, so we set off, although they don't recommend it because we don't have access to water, the places we go, we always set off with a full tank of water, which, you know, 120 litres. That's all additional weight that the engine's having to pull. So to be fair, I think a vehicle this size, them figures are realistic. I mean, you don't buy these things for good fuel economy, just to not what they're for. So that's basically the electronics. We also have air conditioning. It's got heated front screen, heated mirrors, you know, reasonable spec vehicle for a motorhome. We also have a sat nav, sort of DAB Bluetooth stereo. I will warn people who are thinking about buying a vehicle like this, and I think these head units are fitted to the range of Benimars. That when we first picked this up, the head unit was basically unusable. The reversing camera wouldn't engage, the sat nav was dropping off, DAB was just crackling on all the time. It was not a good head unit. Subsequently, I've discovered, since we got the van in June, the manufacturer head unit do post regular software updates, and I would recommend that if you haven't picked your vehicle up yet, I would check with your salesperson that the vehicle you're getting is carrying the most up-to-date operating system, because it's made a huge difference. It's now pretty much works as I would expect a head unit to that standard with all them features. Everything works. The GPS isn't great. It does take a little while to pick up where you are on the sat nav, but I suspect that is because the aerial is maybe put somewhere inside the dashboard, and maybe the electronics, the air conditioning, the heating systems are affecting that signal. That is one thing when we come to get the vehicle serviced in June next year. Our question, I've also read on some forums you can upgrade the aerial so the DAB works a bit better, but again, since all the software updates, it is working so much better. Additional features to this particular van that was a selling point to me was also it comes as standard with, as mentioned, it's got the upgraded 170 brake engine, and it comes with a winterization kit. Now, for people who don't use the van through the winter, this will probably not matter to you, so you can fast forward it, but for us, we camp all year round, whatever the weather. So as part of that kit, you get the internal carpets, which we have down all the time. You get the additional external blinds, the foil blinds, which go outside the van. We don't use them and don't expect to use them because, again, a lot of the places that we stay is while camping, and so, you know, in the middle of the night, if you need to make a quick exit from somewhere, you know, it's one thing that you don't have to remove before moving off. We find the internal blinds, again, a lot of vans we looked at didn't have them as standard. These come as standard. We find them more than adequate for keeping the privacy and the heat in and the cold out. Going back to the winterization kit, you also get there's a little switch that everyone asks about behind the driver's seat. That switch turns on the heated grey water tank, so any grey water that you're using from the shower such night goes in that tank and you don't have to worry about that freezing. Again, that is probably something that's best used when you're plugged into electricity. We've not, it's December now, and unfortunately because of COVID we've been locked down since November, so we haven't had the opportunity to go away in the van overnight in the winterizer yet, but hopefully next year if things get a bit better, we'll be able to get away overnight in the winter and I'll be able to test out the heater on the tank. I have been told not to use it while you're while camping because it drains the battery, but again, from time to time we do stay on campsite, so when we're plugged into electric, I'll probably give that a go. You also, as part of the winterization kit, you get the pipes, all external water pipes, insulated so they shouldn't freeze. On the fridge you get the insert for the vents. This is one thing that you might want to bear in mind when you're picking up. When we picked up the vehicle, the winterization kit vents were installed. So believe it or not, a fridge relies on heat to generate the cool air. So in the summer when it's warmer, you take the plates out of, I'll post a picture up as I'm discussing this, but I'll put a picture up, but you'll find that you need the plates in place behind the vents to keep the heat in for the fridge so it works efficiently in the winter. And we'd found when we picked the van up, these were already installed, so when we went away for the first time it was like 17 degrees, and because the plates were blocking off the heat from getting in, the fridge wasn't performing as well. It's a simple process, 2 little clips on each vent, the vents come out, you just remove the plates, and you know, we've had them removed all summer, you know, and it recommends in the book, I think it's anything under 5 or 6 degrees, you need to put the plates back in so the fridge will work efficiently in the cold. Again, that was just one pointer that we thought the fridge was faulty when we picked the van up, but it wasn't. It was just the plates were installed, so then plates just live next to the gas, and then as and when we need them in the winter I'll put them back in. There's space for 2 6-kilogram gas bottles, which we find is more than enough. You do read about people getting LPG conversions and whatnot, that's fine, but for us, we find, so in the summer we went 8 nights off grid, so that was running the fridge, heating water for a couple of showers every day, cooking out tea on the gas hob or the oven, and what else would that have been covering? Didn't need any heating on because it was the summer, and we got 7 days out of a gas bottle, which I think is reasonable. I would expect as the winter comes and you had the heating on, you wouldn't get that much, but to be fair, we always have the second one full, so once one gas canister runs out, swap them over, and then the next time we pass a garage or a service station, we just exchange the empty one, and then we're good for another week or so. Talking about the heating, this particular vehicle has the iNet system, which is basically the heating system can be controlled by your mobile phone. I did have a few problems linking my Apple phone to this system, but I discovered it was more down to the Apple operating system not working with the iNet than anything wrong with the iNet. Eventually Apple did update the operating system. I did a full reset on the iNet system, and it worked. It just linked it. It's great. It's a brilliant system. You can be away on the hills, walking out on your bike, whatever. Generally what we do about half an hour before we plan to get home, as long as you've got a SIM card in the system and your phone's got a signal, you can send a message to the van and tell it put the heating on, certain temperature, put the water on. And it's great because you get back, and if it's cold and wet, you get in the van, it's nice and warm, and it just means that you're not sitting burning electricity or gas all day just for the van to be warm when you get back. And you can control the heating so it's ready and it's up to temperature when you want it and what time. It is also a perfect excuse if you're like me and you sleep with your phone next to you. If you don't want the timer to be left on overnight, you can just wake up in the morning, put your phone on, and as long as you're in Bluetooth reach, which you will be from the bedroom, you can just turn the heating on from your bed, give it 20 minutes, the van's nice and warm for when you get out of bed and make a cup of tea or whatever. So yeah, the iNet system is brilliant. Would thoroughly recommend it. I run it on a pay-as-you-go SIM card. It's just a standard SIM, but whatever card you feel is best. Again, because we run the van all year round, I just have a monthly pay-as-you-go reoccurring, so I know that the iNet system is always ready to run when we go. The heating system is great. It's got various options: mix this, mix that, mix the other. If you read the instruction manuals, you can have an option. So if you're on electric hookup and the electric goes off, it'll divert the supply from the gas, and then once the electric's reinstalled, the gas will switch off. And it's really intelligent, really good. Obviously, like all vans, the gas is a lot better, especially in the winter when it starts getting cold. We've been out a few times when it's been a bit cooler, and we always just blast the heating with the gas just to get it up to temperature, and then flip it to electric just to maintain that heat. I find that's the best way of doing it. Water takes about 20 minutes to heat up. That's great. And be aware that, again, we're first time motorhome owners, so we've made the mistake of turning the power on a few occasions and not knowing that the protection system, the frost protection system is triggered, and basically it just lets all the water go out the system. So there's a little reset button underneath the seat in this particular vehicle in 463. I'm sure that will be demonstrated on the pickup, but it's an easy reset switch. You just have to bear in mind, if you are going away camping and has been cold, that might have activated, so make sure it's reset before you turn the water on, otherwise you could lose a bit of water. As I've mentioned before, we do a lot of wild camping, which normally means we're going up to Scotland or somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. So when we set off, we always make sure I've got a full tank of fuel, the AdBlue's nicely topped up, and we've got a full tank of water. Now I understand that the tanks on these are 120 litres, so if you do the maths, 120 litres of water, a litre of water is about a kilo. Got what, 70 litres of fuel, 25 litres of AdBlue. The weight's starting to get up. One thing we learned probably very early on days with this is when you're in the dealership and they're telling you all the bits and pieces and how great the van is, you get kind of blown away and you get taken away in the moment, and what you forget to notice is the van's only got a 300 kilogram payload, which sounds a lot. 300 kilograms does sound a lot. We thought the same. Actually, 120 litres worth of water, diesel, 2 adults, kid, prams, buggies, awning, 3 bikes, chop blocks, chairs, food, wine, beer, starts to add up. And that's before you put clothes and all the other bits and pieces in, tools, toilet waste, water stuff, toilet blue stuff, pots, pans, it all adds up. So yes, we do a lot of cyclocross racing, and one of the venues we did a race at had a weighbridge, and they very kindly let me put the van on it, give it away. Got a bit of a shock, yes. So I'll explain it. Basically, the van is 3.5 tons. You can't, the van's weight, fully loaded, it cannot go over 3.5 tons. Sounds a lot of weight, but actually that disappears very quickly. The van itself has got a 300 kilogram payload, which is 300 kilograms of weight that you can add to the vehicle in its standard form. Like I've explained before, basic kit starts adding up. It's not too, as far as I'm aware, I don't hear many cases of it in the UK, but if you do plan it to travel into Europe, which we normally do every summer, over there they're a lot more clued up, and they do stop you more often and ask you to get weighed. So surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, when we were on the weighbridge, yep, we were overweight. Tried taking all the unnecessary bits and pieces out, made very, very little difference. So what I would recommend, if you're lucky enough to be of a certain age, like myself and my wife, when you passed your if you passed your test before September 1997, or you happen to have a C1 on your driving license, I would recommend that you upplate the motorhome. Really important, because you could get yourself into a lot of trouble. I've heard various stories, especially over in Europe. For every kilo overweight, you get fined a euro. So what I would suggest is, with these vehicles, if you've got a C1 on your license, you can drive up to, I think, 7.5 tons. I would double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's 7.5 tons. I know for a fact you can drive up to 4 tons. So if you Google it, Google online, upplating motorhome, there's various companies out there do it for various costs. Basically what happens is they do a calculation based on your vehicle. They give you your options. On this particular vehicle, you can put up to 4125, just over 4 ton. But you need to modify the rear suspension, put air suspension on, which is it wasn't an option for us. We didn't want to start doing that in a new vehicle. So the outcome of that was you can max it on 4 ton, leaving the vehicle standard. So what I've done is I've upplated the vehicle. Now you've got to have a C1 light on your license to be able to drive it, but it just means that instead of 3.5 tons, this vehicle can take 4 ton. It sounds silly, but basically you understand why the manufacturers do it. They basically downplate them to 3.5 tons so anyone can drive them, anyone can hire them. That's just how they do it. But for me, again, if you've got a 463 with a big boot, and I suspect the reason you're looking at the 463 is because it's got the big boot, the big garage. That's why we bought it. Just because you've got the big garage doesn't mean you can fill it. So yes, going back to what the original thing, as I was saying, we're now 4 ton, so we know that we've got that 500 extra from the upplating plus the 300 standard. So that should see us when we go touring in the summer over to Europe. We should be able to take everything we need to take: bikes, kayaks, walking gear, running gear, kiddie stuff, everything we should be able to fit in and know that we're going to be underweight. Inform the insurance company, made no difference, made a note on the policy, that's it. Did read online that in some European countries you might have to pay a slightly higher road toll thing, and there's also, you might have to be limited to 60 miles an hour as opposed to 70, but to be honest with you, it's a small price to pay to make sure I'm legal, as far as I'm concerned. If I was to have an accident and it was down to weight, get myself into a lot of trouble. So for the small cost of getting it upplated, I think it's worth getting it done. So yeah, like I say, got a new plate which is under the bonnet, told the insurance company, updated the DVLA, job done. Now we're fully legal. Right, cooking area. I think I've talked about the mechanic side enough. So moving on to the living area and kitchen area. So a living area, get a table as standard here, can't quite see it, and nice size table, spins around. You can access the table from all chairs at the front. We've got a 2-year-old, so we travel with a car seat and unfortunately the car seat and the table it doesn't fit together. So simple, table goes in the boot, there's a little slot in the back that the table fits in nice and comfy, and then when we arrive at our destination, we're going to be there for a few days, we take the car seat out, put the table in. It's great. Nice cooker. One of the things that we liked about this van, which a lot of the other vans in the range didn't have, is got electric hob and 2 gas. So it's great if you want an electric hookup and you want to use a hob, just use the electric, saves using the gas unnecessarily. Oven's fab, better than the one we had in the old camper van. It's new, it's modern, it's bound to be. Extractor fan. I was very cynical when I saw this, didn't think it was worth it having one in, but actually it's really good. Doing bacon sandwiches or whatever, cooking on a winter's day and you don't want to open the windows, it does a good job, extracts the smell. Plus you've got a motorised extractor fan here as well, so between the two of them, pulls the smell out of the van, no problem at all. And in the summer when it's a bit warmer, we just open the window and just doesn't smell at all when you're cooking. Nice sized sink for doing the dishes, and again, when you're not doing dishes, I don't need access to that, cover goes down, gives you more space. I have noticed in a few of the forums, the Benimar forums, this isn't standard. We did find we struggled, you know, but if you've got the sink open, you've got this open cooking, you do have quite a small area to work. So there's a few of the forums, if you follow them on Facebook, whatnot, they build these shelves. Some people have got them higher, some people have got them wider, but we've just got this. I've got this off cut bit of wood, put a few brackets in, and it just gives you space to put cups, saucers, bits and pieces that you would normally use when cooking. Just gives you that little bit of space. And then the way I've got this is it just slides out and you put it in the back if you want to. So I should have mentioned this before when I was talking about the kitchen area. You've got the fridge and freezer, good size. Just bear in mind when you first look at it, it looks like the size of a one you would get at home, but actually it's not as deep, it's a lot slimmer. So just bear that in mind when you're getting all excited and you think it's like a home freezer. It is, for fridge and freezer, it is a touch smaller, but it does the job. When you're driving, the battery, it powers off the battery, the van battery. So when you're driving along, it keeps itself nice and cool. When you get a campsite, plug into electric, it'll run off electric. And if you've not got electric hookup, it runs off gas, but it automatically does what it needs to do. When you stop, if there's no electric hookup and you turn the gas on, it'll pick the gas up. If you do stop and get a campsite, plug the electric, it'll go off the electric. It uses the electric as its first port of call, and then if that fails, it'll, providing your gas is switched on, it'll go to gas. And through here you've got a toilet, standard toilet. Yeah, does what it says. Nice little cupboard area, mirror, skylight. Through here you've got the shower, and again, lovely shower. It's good as a shower at home. Gets very hot, does the job. Got a skylight above there. And this through here is a bedroom. As you can see, we've got ours. This is one of the reasons we bought this van. It's got the fixed bed, which gives us the good sized garage area underneath. I do suffer from a little bit of claustrophobia, so one of the important things was being able to have the garage and the bed, but the bed not being too high. You know, lying down, I can stretch my arm and I'm fine. Sleep, have a good night's sleep. It's lovely. The way we've got this set up at the minute, as you can see, we've got a 2-year-old. She sleeps in the cot, we sleep along here. Eventually, as she gets older, she'll probably get to have the bed where the cot is at the minute, but it works perfectly for us. It means we can be close to her on the night time. Yeah, you got your skylight. Again, you've got plenty of storage, as you can see. Yeah, you've got a lovely big cupboard underneath the bed here, and you've got 3 good sized drawers. And again, going back to what I was saying about the weight issues, loads of storage, 3 little cupboards at the back, cupboards, drawers, a lot, cupboards, got loads of storage, cupboards here, everywhere. But it's your weight, honestly. We've discovered it's all well and good filling all the cupboards up, but you will be overweight. So if you are considering a Benimar T463 or any other motorhome that's got a good sized garage and lots of storage and it's maxed on 3.5 tonne, if your license says you can do and you've got a C1 on there, I would update it just to be safe. So last thing I want is you having an accident, weight being a problem, you're in trouble. And finally, the drop down bed. We don't use this very often, in fact we've not used it at all. Tell a lie, actually. Well, I've used it once where we're at Kielder, dark sky area, sat in the bed up there looking out the skylight at the stars, brilliant, really good. But as for sleeping in it, haven't used it for that yet. Possibly once Little gets older and she wants her own bed, she might get to have this one. But as you can see, very easy, drop of a button, just make sure there's nothing on any of the surfaces that it can clash with, drop the bed down, and if you can see, it goes a little bit lower than that. Actually drop down bed, I think I was saying before, you can see through now the skylight, it's got a little light up there, and again, it's on the limits of my claustrophobia, but I'm sure I'd be able to sleep up there. I don't feel hemmed in when I have been up there. So it's brilliant bit of kit. Also you get a ladder to get up there, which we've just got the ladder on the bed there along with some coats and jackets and whatnot. And at the end, they all make a noise apparently, just is what it is. And up it goes. One thing I've heard is they quite often do trip the fuses. They are very sensitive. It says 230 kilograms, any more than that, and it'll pick it up and it'll pop the fuse, which I think's underneath. But touch wood, we've not had that problem yet. So that's 463 pretty much summed up. Good and bad. Not a lot of bad points. Great fan. We've had no regrets. We looked at many models and makes of vans, and you know, this one we've not seen another on the road that we wish we went for. So happy with our purchase, but I would just say it again, the weight issue. Again, when we bought the van, we got the 3 bike rack, the awning, TV, tracker, and an additional leisure battery added on. That's all additional weight from that 300 kilograms. That's all additional weight taken from that 300. So just bear that in mind. Just backtracking slightly, yeah, I mentioned there we've got an additional leisure battery, so we've got 2 leisure batteries, one under each seat. In the summer we've got a solar panel on top. I think it's 250, 200, I can't remember. All I do know is we went away for 7 nights in the summer, telly on for a couple of hours every day, lights, pump for the shower, outside awning light every so often, you know, charging phones, all this, that and the other. 7 days after the summer, in the 7 days in the summer, we left the campsite and we were still fully charged. And whether that would change in the winter, like with COVID, we haven't been able to get away for a long period of time while camping as such. So I would suspect that with less hours in a day, it's not going to charge as well. But I think it's worth having for us and what we do. Having that second leisure battery is it was worth it. I think it's a difference between able to go a couple of nights or maybe a week and not have to worry about our power consumption. So yeah, going back to what I said, 463, really pleased with it, happy. I'm aware that Marquis at the minute have got the exclusive contract to sell them. We bought from Marquis in Durham. Nick, brilliant guy, had no problems. You know, we picked this up at the height of COVID. Handover procedure wasn't what it could have been, but considering everything that was going on, we were very happy with the service. So yeah, so Any questions, anything I haven't covered or anything I haven't made clear, by all means leave something in the comments, and I'll try and answer them, get back to you. Thanks for watching.